The Cleveland Browns just got flat out embarrassed by the Chicago Bears, and Skip Bayless wasted zero time hitting the panic button on head coach Kevin Stefanski. This wasn't regular criticism. This was scorched earth commentary that had the entire NFL world buzzing loud. Skip didn't tiptoe around it either. He went straight for the jugular, and now everyone is talking about what this could mean for Stefanski's future. And honestly, after seeing what went down in Chicago, it's hard not to understand why Skip went there. What happened on that field at Soldier Field on December 14th wasn't just a bad game. It was a full-blown organizational meltdown that exposed every weak spot in the Browns foundation. The final score said it all, 31-3. Let that number sit for a second. 31-3. This was a Browns team that came into the season with playoff dreams, a loaded roster, and one of the most dominant defensive forces in the league in Myles Garrett. And yet, they got completely run over by a Bears team nobody was losing sleep over before kickoff. Skip Bayless came out swinging like a fed-up fan who's seen this movie way too many times. He called the performance unacceptable, embarrassing, and fireable. 3 words no head coach ever wants attached to their name. And when Skip starts dropping the F word, meaning fire, you know the situation has gone from bad to full-on crisis mode. This loss marked Cleveland's 11th defeat of the season. 11 losses. That's not what a team trying to build something serious is supposed to look like. Instead of stacking wins, the Browns are stacking L's, and Skip flat out said the Stefanski era has reached the end of the road. And after watching this disaster play out, it's tough to push back on that take. Skip's most brutal line cut straight through the noise when he said, and I quote, "This is what a poorly coached football team looks like. 3 points, 3 turnovers, no adjustments, no answers." That's not just calling out one bad afternoon, that's a direct shot at the entire coaching approach. Statements like that don't fade away quietly, they stick and they follow coaches around. Because what Skip was really saying is deeper than one scoreboard. He wasn't blaming a single play or one unlucky bounce. He was calling out the system, the preparation, and the lack of direction under Stefanski's leadership. And that's the kind of criticism that puts jobs in real danger. Now let's talk about this offense, because what we saw deserves its own chapter in the book of NFL disasters. The Browns offense was completely shut down by the Bears defense. No space, no rhythm, no breathing room. They managed just 3 points and turned the ball over 3 times, looking lost from start to finish. 3 points in a full NFL game is alarming. That's not just struggling, that's failing to function. There was no urgency, no spark, and no ability to adjust when things went sideways. And Skip made it clear this isn't some rare off night. This has become a trend under Stefanski's watch. It's not about bad luck anymore. It's not about injuries or excuses. According to Skip, this is simply who the Browns are right now, and that realization is starting to hit fans hard. Even rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who many hoped could inject some energy into the offense, finished the game with just 177 passing yards as the unit never found its footing. This wasn't just a loss. It was a loud message, and the fallout is only getting started. Now, to keep it fair, Shedeur Sanders did flash some real promise out there. He uncorked a 42-yard strike and followed it up with a 47-yard connection to Isaiah Bond. And those throws showed legit arm talent. Those moments hinted that there might be something worth building around here. But here's the issue. Those plays were rare highlights in an otherwise brutal afternoon. For most of the game, Sanders was under siege. He was running for his life, dodging pressure, scrambling non-stop, and taking hit after hit like the defense had a free pass. There was no protection, no comfort, and no chance to settle in. That's not how you develop any quarterback, rookie or not. Tight end Harold Fannin Jr. ended up leading all Browns receivers with 48 yards on 7 catches. On paper, that sounds fine, until you realize that stat tells the whole ugly story. When your tight end leads the team and the offense still manages just 3 points, something is seriously off. Jerry Jeudy, a guy brought in to be a difference maker, was held to just 2 catches for 22 yards, 2 receptions. That's invisible production. That's not game changing, and it's definitely not helping a struggling offense climb out of a hole. But this is where things crossed from bad into flat out alarming. Sanders was Cleveland's leading rusher with only 24 yards. Read that again. The quarterback led the team in rushing. Skip Bayless jumped all over that stat and didn't hesitate to call it out. He said, "When your quarterback is your leading rusher, your system is broken. That's coaching malpractice." And in this case, that statement hit hard. In today's NFL, that's not creativity, that's dysfunction. This wasn't a designed dual threat attack. This was Sanders scrambling because nothing else worked. It showed a run game that couldn't get going, an offensive line that couldn't open lanes, and a scheme that defenses clearly had figured out. That's a massive warning sign, and it's flashing right over Kevin Stefanski's head. Running back Quinshawn Judkins, who should be a key piece of this offense, was completely shut down. He finished with just 21 yards on 11 carries. That's under 2 yards per rush. Those numbers don't lie. That's the kind of stat line that keeps coaches staring at the ceiling at night, and this is where Skip landed his biggest punch. He said the Browns have no offensive identity whatsoever. Watching this game, it's tough to argue against that. What are they trying to be? They're not a power running team. The numbers kill that idea. They're not an explosive passing offense. 3 points says enough. And they're definitely not a creative unit keeping defenses guessing. The Bears defense looked like they knew what was coming before the snap. That lack of identity keeps showing up week after week. There's no rhythm, no direction, and no adjustment when things fall apart. That's a coaching issue, plain and simple. And it didn't stop on offense either. While the spotlight stays on the scoring problems, and rightly so, the defense didn't escape this mess. Cleveland gave up 31 points for the second straight week. That's not bad luck. That's a trend, and it's one that should have everyone concerned. This wasn't just one unit failing, it was the whole operation slipping at the same time. The Bears wasted no time setting the tone, jumping out to 14 points in the first quarter and making it clear early that this was going to be a nightmare for Cleveland. Then came halftime, and whatever hope the Browns had left vanished fast. Chicago came out and dropped another 14 points in the third quarter, completely shutting the door on any comeback dreams. When your defense is giving up touchdowns in bunches like that, it's no longer about a missed tackle or a blown assignment. That points to deeper structural issues that run through the entire team. Linebacker Carson Schwezinger actually put together a strong individual showing, leading the Browns with 14 total tackles. That kind of effort matters and shows that some players were still battling out there. Mohamoud Diabate added 8 tackles, and Ronnie Hickman chipped in 7 more. These guys were flying around, trying to slow things down, but the wave just kept coming. Myles Garrett, one of the most dominant defensive players in the entire NFL, managed to record 1.5 sacks. Alex Wright added another sack, his 4th of the season, showing continued growth as a pass rusher. Shelby Harris also got in on the action with half a sack. On paper, those numbers don't look terrible. The Browns did get pressure on the quarterback, and that's what you want from your defensive front. But Skip Bayless zeroed in on the part that really matters. Individual effort can't hide a broken system. You can stack tackles, you can log sacks, you can have moments where players flash. But when the scoreboard reads 31-3, none of that changes the outcome. According to Skip, the system failed, the coaching failed, the preparation failed. Bayless went a step further and tied the defensive breakdowns directly to the offense. He said, "This defense is exhausted because the offense does nothing." And that point hits hard. When the offense keeps going 3 and out, when turnovers keep putting the defense in bad field position, and when drives never last long enough to give anyone a breather, you're setting the defense up to fail. That responsibility falls straight on the head coach. Picture being a Browns defender in this game. You grind out a stop, force a field goal, and jog to the sideline thinking maybe this is the moment things turn. Instead, you watch the offense burn through a drive in barely a minute and a half. Next thing you know, you're right back on the field, tired, frustrated, and staring down a Bears offense that's getting more confident with every snap. That wears on you fast. That cycle has been repeating all season long. The defense isn't just worn down physically, they're drained mentally too. They're tired of playing hard, creating pressure, and making stops, only to see the offense give them nothing in return. And that's when things start to unravel. Defenders begin pressing, trying to do too much, chasing big plays instead of trusting the system. Gaps open up, fundamentals slip, and the breakdown snowball. This isn't about effort. The effort is there. It's about structure, balance, and leadership. And right now, that balance is completely missing in Cleveland. And when a defense starts playing out of desperation instead of discipline, that's when games spiral fast. That's how you end up giving up 31 points to teams you should at least be competitive with. After laying out what he saw as a full-blown organizational failure, Skip Bayless didn't hesitate. He aimed his message straight at Browns ownership and dropped the hammer. He didn't talk about tweaks. He didn't float adjustments. adjustments. He didn't suggest giving Kevin Stefanski a little more time. He said, and these were his exact words, "Fire him now, not later, not after the season, not after one more evaluation. Now, immediately." And his reasoning was just as blunt. Bayless said the season is over, the culture is broken, and development is failing, so stop wasting time. Each one of those points hits hard on its own, but together they form a brutal case for change. The season is done. Cleveland isn't making the playoffs with 11 losses. There's no late surge coming and no miracle turnaround waiting around the corner. At this point, the only logical move is to evaluate what you have. Focus on developing young players and start planning ahead. Stefanski has already shown what this version of the Browns looks like, and that result is 11 losses. Then there's the culture. You can see it without looking at a stat sheet. You see it in body language. You see it when adversity hits and the response just isn't there. You see it when the team falls behind by multiple scores and the fight fades fast. Winning cultures don't collapse like this. They don't shut down when things get uncomfortable. They find ways to compete even when conditions aren't perfect. Cleveland doesn't show any of that right now, and culture always starts at the top, and then comes the most concerning part of all: development. This matters even more when you have a rookie quarterback like Shadir Sanders. If you're not chasing the playoffs, then development should be the priority. That should be the one positive you can take from a rough season. But what is Sanders actually learning right now? He's learning how to take hits. He's learning how to rush decisions. He's learning habits that can follow a quarterback for years if they aren't corrected. That's not progress. That's putting a young player in a tough spot. Bayless wrapped it all up with one phrase that stuck: stop wasting time. And that line carries weight in the NFL. Time is everything. Every week spent with the wrong coach is a week you're not searching for the right one. Every game Sanders plays in a broken system is another game where growth gets delayed. Every loss chips away at confidence across the locker room. The clock keeps moving and Cleveland keeps standing still while avoiding the decision everyone sees coming. The reaction to Bayless's comments was immediate and explosive across social media. Browns fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and every platform imaginable with agreement and frustration. They've been watching this season unravel week after week, and suddenly, someone with a massive platform was saying exactly what fans have been yelling at their screens all season long. The hashtag #FireStefanski started trending in Cleveland. Memes popped up highlighting the 3 points scored with captions like, "Is this the offensive genius?" Others pointed back to Stefanski's Coach of the Year award and asked the same question over and over. What happened to that version of the coach they thought they had? The frustration was obvious and the anger made sense. A growing number of people felt like this situation had gone way past patience and into desperation. That said, not everyone lined up with Skip Bayless. Some pushed back hard, accusing him of exaggerating, chasing attention, or reacting emotionally instead of being measured. Those defending Kevin Stefanski pointed to injuries, roster limitations, and the reality that rebuilding in the NFL isn't easy. They argued that firing a coach mid-season, or even right after the year ends, creates chaos and makes it tougher to attract elite coaching candidates. But here's where those arguments fall apart. Yes, injuries happen. Yes, rosters aren't perfect. Yes, rebuilding takes time. But none of that explains losing 31-3 to the Chicago Bears. None of it explains scoring 3 points in a full professional football game. And none of it explains your quarterback leading the team in rushing. At some point, excuses stop working. Accountability has to kick in, and that's exactly where this debate exploded. Fans and analysts argued all night and well into the next day, breaking it down from every possible angle. Some pointed to Stefanski's past success, playoff appearances, that Coach of the Year award, and moments when it looked like Cleveland was finally turning a corner. Others fired back with a simple truth: past success doesn't win today's games. What matters is what's happening right now. And right now, the Browns are losing in ways that suggest deep foundational problems. These aren't close losses or unlucky breaks. These are blowouts that raise serious questions about leadership and direction. What makes this situation even more intense is how firm Skip Bayless has been. He isn't hedging. He's not talking about hot seats or evaluations. He's saying fire Kevin Stefanski immediately. No delay, no second chances, no waiting. That kind of stance puts your credibility on the line, and Skip knows it. If Stefanski somehow turns this around, Bayless looks wrong. But if the Browns keep sliding and eventually make the move, Bayless looks like he saw it coming before everyone else. Right now, Kevin Stefanski is standing squarely in the spotlight. The pressure isn't building, it's already overflowing. Every press conference feels like damage control. Every game feels like another test he can't afford to fail. This is usually what the final chapter looks like for NFL head coaches. The questions get sharper, the patience disappears, and every loss makes the future feel heavier. The tough part is that it didn't have to end this way. There were moments during the Stefanski era where it genuinely felt like Cleveland was building something real. There was momentum, there was belief, there were stretches where the Browns looked organized, confident, and competitive, but somewhere along the line, things slipped. Adjustments didn't happen, problems lingered, and instead of changing direction, the organization kept moving forward with the same approach, expecting different results. One thing is certain, after Skip Bayless unleashed his comments, the conversation around Stefanski's future changed completely. This isn't just fan frustration anymore. This is a serious national discussion about whether a head coach has lost control, lost direction, and lost the locker room. Now the Browns are at a crossroads. Do they make the move now and begin the search for their next leader? Do they wait until the season finally ends and reset then? Or do they double down, give Stefanski another offseason, and hope things somehow turn around? The clock is ticking, the pressure is rising, and Skip Bayless just cranked the heat all the way up. So now it comes down to one question. Is Skip Bayless right? Should the Cleveland Browns move on from Kevin Stefanski right now, or does he deserve more time? Are injuries and roster issues valid explanations? Or is scoring 3 points against the Bears simply unacceptable no matter what? Now drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from quiet. This is one of those topics that sparks real debate, real emotion, and strong opinions on both sides, and I want to hear where you stand. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Skip Bayless going after Kevin Stefanski, and if this analysis helped make sense of what's going wrong in Cleveland, make sure you hit that like button. It seriously helps the channel grow and lets YouTube know you want more content like this. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the latest NFL drama as it happens. Things move fast in this league, and you don't want to be late to the conversation. The NFL always delivers chaos, controversy, and non-stop storylines, and we'll be right here covering it all. Catch you in the next video.